All right, good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Hope you all are doing well. Let's take a look and see what is going on with Bitcoin this morning. On our daily, we are finally getting a decent wick to the downside, and we bounce off of my 57818 level, and now we're getting a pullback to the upside. So it basically front ran my 786, which obviously that happens, right? Um, I was targeting 57.3. I had my entry around 57.5, so it did front run me, unfortunately. But I did find an opportunity this morning to do a small scalp, so I took advantage of that. Basically, it was overnight, and I was using 786 levels because I knew there was going to be a reversal. So high probability setup, and I was able to take advantage and get a gain out of it. Anyways, that being said, it's respecting all of my levels, right? I mean, you can see it opened at 58,613 here, I believe. Um, yeah, 58,608. And then it dropped down to 57,818, and now it's rising up. So I'm expecting for this, dropping into some of these smaller time frames here. And obviously everything looks bullish, which is great. Look at how it respects 58,613 on the 4 hour, just kind of bouncing off of there. I think we've talked about this. Um, it bounces off my local 786 level, which is where my entry was around 58,350, and now it's just rising, right? Um, really, this is a time for a reversal, mainly because it's the start of the month. So if I were to go to the monthly, you can see we did wick down first thing this month. So that's a great, great sign. The weekly still not looking, great. It's still negative. But obviously the month does take precedence over the week. Um, unless we get a an official death cross where the 21 crosses the 200, this is not like a perfect short setup to me until this happens. Um, Now, that being said, there's a lot of key levels on the bearish side that we need to get above in order to have a bullish bias. And in reality, I want to see us getting above, this green line, 60,189-ish, 188, and working our way up to 62,109. We have to get back up, above 68,189, 60,973, around 61,124, like this area, and then up to 62s, and we have to stay above them. There's a lot of extremely key levels that we have lost that we need to reclaim if we're going to be bullish. We could be bullish even on the meso time frame, right? But in order for the macro to flip bullish, we have to see rise above like these three key levels, and I would have these on your chart: 60,189. Some level between, you could even call it 61 even, but some level between 60,973, 61,124, and then some level in between 62,109 and 62,235. All of that needs to be taken, and we need to use them as support lines. Until then, it's not a very promising look. Okay, this could just be what we call a dead cat bounce, or it could be, a basically just a meso time frame bullish, trend. But on the macro, I'm not honestly going to get bullish until we close above 62, 235 here. And we start showing some strength where we can really start heading up and taking out some of these double tops. Okay, now dropping into the 1 hour, let's see what's going to be happening throughout the day. I know I mentioned it on X, and I also mentioned it in SimCity Crypto, but I do want to see these levels tested. So first level would be 59,553. This is going to be on your weekly time frame. So this was your weekly open at 5 p.m. On Sunday, and then your midnight open is at 59,846. So if we can get above this, I want to see this respected, this 59,846, and then I want to see us basically run out and go for 60,189. There's a potential that right now we could stop at this double top right here. Okay, this double top is not, is basically my first target to take profit on. Okay, so that is the first thing that I'm looking at. Um, especially because we have such a large candle here. I'm expecting this to get run out, maybe test weekly open, and then just kind of maybe fall from there. If we are bearish, which it looks like we have more of a bearish profile for the week, expect weekly open to be tested, and then we fall. Okay. Um, so 15-minute getting above the 200, which is great. You know, you got your 10-minute already above it, getting your golden cross. It's just, it's starting to get a little bit overextended now. And we just, look at this. I mean, we just took out the double top, right? So remember what I told you guys how, basically the market only goes for double tops and double bottoms. Well, this is your prime example. If we get a retracement from here, I would not be surprised. Um, it really is going to depend on how bullish we are from a meso time frame perspective, your 4 hour, even up to your 8 hour. But on the bigger time frames like we've looked at, the daily, the weekly, you're not really, you don't have a bullish sentiment yet until you can start reclaiming some of these bigger levels, until you can get above the 200 MA on the weekly. So another target, honestly, would be, let's see, where is it? It's all the way up to 62,617. So until you get back above there, you got to remain bearish. And you have to say that, like we've looked at with Bitcoin. So if I were to pull up my Binance chart here, you have to say that we're going to go to the 200 on the 2 week. So that's going to be your next stop. Okay. That being said, let's go ahead and take a look at liquidity and see what that's doing. So, taking a look at liquidity here, you can see that, let's see, let me go back to my session. All right. So taking a look at liquidity, you can see that we were starting to push upward. We could definitely take out 62,308 area. I would like to see us starting to at least dive it somewhat into this pool, which is where like 60,189 is. So that's, going to be that green line that we've been seeing. That would be great. Um, you can see we're also building up more liquidity down below, so it's not a great sign either. We have it all the way down to 56 even now. So definitely alludes to the fact that we could potentially, reverse at any moment as well, depending on if we hit a key level and we get rejected off of it. Um, let's see, your 1 hour. So your 1 hour does show that we could possibly take this little bit of liquidity out, which is, I believe, around a weekly open, 59.6. Yeah, that's basically in between your weekly open at 59.5, and then you have your midnight weekly open at 59.8, I believe. If I go back to this chart here. Yeah, 59.846, and then you have your weekly open, where was that at? So that was at 59,553. So it's kind of in between there, which makes sense, right? Taking out that double top once again and then maybe reversing. I would be probably targeting this little yellow area, this yellow speck, if we were to reverse. It could get nasty. It could go further. It could go down to this, 56 even like we talked about. But I would expect it to maybe have some resistance off of 57,429. So I might get my fill if I actually canceled the order, but I may put it back in because I see this yellow speck now. So I'm going to put in 57, around 57.6 probably. I'll probably put in to see if I can get a fill right there, but not going to be a big order because we already dove into that pool. Dropping into the 15-minute. So the 15-minute here, on Trading Different, you can see that we do have that red spec at 57.5-ish. So I'm going to probably put it right around 57.750. But we have all of this liquidity still to the upside. So we could reclaim this area right here. And if we're really bullish, we're going to just keep plowing up to 61, then test that 62,140 and maybe get rejected off of there. It's really going to be interesting. We did have, Warsh speaking this morning. We had non-farm payroll, I believe it was, this morning as well, or maybe it's tomorrow. Let me take a look at the factory here. So we had Warsh, we had the PMI. So non-farm employment is tomorrow at 5:30, and then unemployment rate is also tomorrow, and unemployment claims. So this could definitely form our potential top or bottom for the week here at least. So just kind of keep that in mind. That's our last Fed event, and then we don't really have anything on Friday because it's a bank holiday. So definitely going to be a more of a rough week. it's great to see my model playing out today. So I was very happy about that, taking out that double top right there. I took profit. So anyways, that's looking great so far. And then for the 5 minute, you can even see our trend if even went up to a +3, which it hasn't done in a very long time. But our daily and our 4 hour are still at a -1 for bias, so it's still telling us to be cautious because it's slightly bearish. So just kind of keep that in mind when it comes to, what we're seeing on trend if. Obviously, our hourly is neutral. But anyways, guys, that is what I'm seeing at least so far for trading different. I would also have 57,429, area on the charts as well as 57,750. See what happens if we were to get down here. So just those are some levels that we've talked about, right? And then, going out here, you can see that we still on Kiyotaka have orders to the upside. So we do have orders to 60,252. It looks like pretty strong orders. We are starting to get, more orders to the downside, unfortunately. So these weren't taken out yet. You still got some down to 57,320, which was around, 57.5 was around where my order was. But like I said, I might put in, I think I'm going to put in an order around 57,750 to front run that there. So that's what I'm seeing so far in the market. And then obviously even below that, you even have more, even heading down to 48,000. So not a very great sign, as far as a bullish sentiment goes on the macro. I am more bullish on like the meso time frame in between the micro and the macro, and obviously the micro time frame I'm bullish. But the macro still needs to show me that it wants to be above weekly open, and then getting above 62,000 is extremely important in holding it as support. All right, guys, let me go one more time to the simple map here on trading different. And okay, so the simple map, you can see we have some 100x to the downside. Nothing too crazy, not a lot. We do have a lot more, 50x, 100x to the upside, surprisingly, on the scalping time frame. So your 5 minute, your 15, your 1 hour. So that's a decent sign. You are seeing some more 25x, 50x, 100x there. That's great. And then on the swing time frames, your 4 hour and your daily, you are right next to this liquidity once again. So, we did take some of it out, but it's still right next to us on the daily, which kind of alludes to the fact that we could be going down sooner rather than later, as usual. So that's what I was saying. It lines up with my theory, right? Macro time frame, I am still bearish. Meso and micro time frames, I am more bullish, which aligns with this, right? So without, even having to really think about it, that's kind of what I'm seeing in the market, okay? With that being said, guys, that's what I have for you this morning. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. If you guys want to use trading different, it really helps you with identifying and figuring out bias, and also with your trades as well through TrendIff. Feel free to use my code Sean. So it's tradingdifferent.com/code/Sean. I will talk to you all later. Again, have a wonderful day, and I will see you later.